Good evening. I'm Paul Offodds, and it's time for your Royals postseason report. As of recording, the Royals had not yet played Wednesday's game. The Twins and Guardians still hadn't played either. The Red Sox did beat the Astros. Before last night's action, the Royals were tied with the Twins for second in the division and in the wildcard race. They were 3.5 games behind the Guardians for the division crown and 3 games ahead of the Red Sox for the final wildcard berth. As of this morning, here are your Kansas City Royals playoff odds. Baseball Reference, 82.1%. Baseball Prospectus, 61.2%. And Fangraphs, 93.5%. Notably, these numbers have all improved since Sunday, despite splitting the first 2 games of the Angels series. Their magic number for the final wildcard berth is 34. We now return you to your regularly scheduled Royals Rundown podcast.
Welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham as usual, and as always, the man opposite me is Jeremy Greco. Yeah, I tried to bracket that a little bit. Yes,
always Jeremy Greco, but you're only usually Jacob Milham.
Only usually. It's
Who are you when you're not Jacob Milham?
Well, that is for me to know and you to find out, Jeremy. Okay. All right, welcome to the podcast episode. Like our man Paul Offodds said earlier on, we are recording this ahead of Wednesday night's series finale against the Los Angeles Angels, so please take that into account while we are going through the episode today. If you want to stay up to date on the Kansas City Royals, including tonight's results, go check out royalsreview.com. You can also follow them on Twitter and Facebook at Royals Review.
That's an official Royals Review account. I don't have Threads still, so I have no idea.
Yes. I mean, are you still rocking Blue Sky? Like, is that...
No, I found out that Blue Sky was being run by Jack Dorsey had a big part in Blue Sky, and I was like, well, it's not going to be any better.
I see.
And no one uses it except for John Boyes and John Scalzi, who I use it instead of Twitter now, but it's not enough to make me go over there. No one I really talk to is over there.
There you go.
And the whole point is talking to people and where people can see you, and it's just not there.
Yes.
I'm afraid I'm on Twitter until it sinks or bans me.
Well, we'll see what happens first. I think they're pretty even odds to see what happens first, though, Jeremy. All right, let's get back to the Kansas City Royals. So we have a jammed pack episode for y'all. Later on, I do have a bone to pick with a notable Kansas City voice. Plus, we got to talk about some of these depth players. Like everyone in the Kansas City Royals sphere has been talking about for the past, 12 hours, the bullpen. Jeremy, I think we got to start there, man. This was... So, granted, the Royals were riding a 5-game winning streak heading into Tuesday's game. They ended up losing 9-5. It wasn't a perfect game from Cole Ragans by any stretch. He had 9 strikeouts through 5 innings, but he did exit the game, allowing 2 earned runs with, I think, the bases loaded, if I recall correctly. No, he had 2 on. He had bases. He had base runners. And then from there, just the bullpen couldn't get a stop. They could not plug the scoring hole.
Context matters, though, right?
Okay, let's hear this context. Let's hear this nuance.
James McArthur was the first guy out of the bullpen.
Yes.
First of all, probably should have just given him a clean inning. Cole Ragans coming into the inning he'd been pitching well, but he was also looking a little bit worn out. And McArthur comes into the inning, as you noted, with runners on.
Yep.
And he hits.
Yes.
In that appearance on balls that had no business being hits.
Yeah.
Those were good pitches way outside the strike zone, pitches that you want guys to swing at because they're going to miss it more often than not. And when they don't miss it, it's going to be a weak contact. And those were all 3 weak contact. They just were well placed. And it sucks. It sucks for the Royals. It sucks for Cole Ragans, it sucks for James McArthur, it sucks for all of us as fans, but don't get on the whole James McArthur sucks again train. He doesn't.
That is the context we're looking for.
It would have been better to strike out those guys instead of getting weak contact, but you can't strike out everyone.
No, you can't. But I do think that this is a byproduct of a season-long problem, and it's, the Royals are not a perfect team. We've said that from like this spring, since like we started legitimately looking at them like, okay, are they like, is this a serious team that can play into September and October with things at stake? And one of the glaring things was this bullpen struggles to strike out batters.
Yeah.
It's been that way, and it's continued to be that way. Lucas Erceg, of course, has brought in a strikeout potent pitcher, but he can't pitch every single relief inning, okay? There's still a supporting cast.
He had pitched multiple innings Monday night, if I recall correctly.
Yes, he had. I believe it was either 5 outs or 4 outs. So he wasn't going to be the guy to turn to in that situation, I do want to say. But at the end of the day, the bullpen struggled even after that inning. So the Royals were down 5-2 at that time, and they came back at one point, made it a little interesting, but the bullpen just could not stop the flow. 4 runs on 8 hits and 4 walks in 4 innings.
So Jacob, I got a stat for you. Ready for this?
All right, let's hear the number.
You ready?
Yep.
Relievers ERA since the All-Star break, 6.69. That's pretty bad, right?
It's really bad.
That's awful, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
You can't. That's the Red Sox relievers ERA. just so we're clear about like, oh no, the Red Sox are gonna. Yeah, that's the worst worst relievers ERA in the second half, and that belongs to the Red Sox.
Dang.
The Royals have a 4.68 ERA from their bullpen in the second half, which admittedly is in the bottom third of baseball. Not good.
No.
But that's more than 2 runs better than the Red Sox.
That is.
Okay. Baltimore also worse with a 5.31 bullpen ERA. The Twins also worse with a 5.35. The Phillies also worse with a 5.34. The Mariners also worse with a 5.02. The Yankees are better. They have a 4.53.
Cleveland's got to be better, too.
Clearly better. Cleveland is still one of the best, 2.72, but their rotation is so bad, it doesn't matter.
It is absolutely in shambles right now.
And just to round things out, the Astros also have a 2.92. They're doing very well, but the Astros aren't really competing with the Royals for a playoff spot anymore. They've pretty much taken the AL West crown for themselves. So we're not competing with them. We're not competing with the Yankees. So don't have to stress about that too much, other than, the Royals play the Astros next week.
Yes, we do have to worry about that bit. But that does make me feel a little better hearing about the Phillies, since they'll be coming to town on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
This is the context. This is the context I want to provide is that, yes, the Royals bullpen objectively bad, but they're not even close to the only MLB team with holes in their roster. Every MLB team has holes in their roster. Jacob, no team in baseball, not one, is on pace for 100 wins this year.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
For the first time since 2014.
Tight race, man.
That was a good year for the Royals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was fairly good.
Setting that aside, no team on pace for 100 wins. Every team in baseball has flaws right now.
Yes, very true.
So the Royals are going to lose some games. They lost a game last night. You would have liked to see them win when you've got Cole Reagans on the mound. But hey, Tyler Anderson was an all-star too.
He was.
And he deserved it. Yeah. So let's not pretend that, the other guys don't get paid too. Okay. and I guess to move on to the next thing that I think we were going to, but I'm going to skip ahead to that.
Please do.
The bullpen problem right now is 2 guys.
All right. Which 2 you got?
2.5. Chris Stratton
There's
and
a
Will
half
Smith.
man. Hold on. Pause. There's a half man in the bullpen?
Yeah, Angel Zerpa's a half problem.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fair enough. Sorry, continue.
Will Smith and Chris Stratton do not have a place on this roster. It is incredibly unserious of JJ Piccolo to continue rostering them. I know we've seen people criticizing Q for his reliever usage. I saw someone criticizing Fermin for his pitch calling last night, which when the guys who gave up the runs are Chris Stratton and Will Smith, there is a more obvious culprit. Will Smith, he was pitching better for a while. He was pitching in low leverage. That was fine. Listen, you can find someone as good as Will Smith in the minor leagues right this second, and maybe better. That's the thing, maybe better. So why are we not exploring that possibility? The contract to Will Smith is already paid. Chris Stratton, I defended that earlier by saying he's been kind of up and down and he's going to get paid next year. So it makes sense to say, like, can we use you next? Can we see if we can figure out how to get something out of you next year? Mm-hmm. You're in a playoff race now. This is not, this is a real playoff race. This is not maybe you're going to be in a playoff race. This is not you're almost in a playoff race. This is definitely not we're looking towards next season. We're looking towards tonight. We're looking towards tomorrow. We're looking towards October, hopefully. And Chris Stratton is going to get paid $5 million next year. That's not back-breaking money.
It's not.
Can I tell you about another guy getting paid?
Okay,
this year,
who else
right now? Hunter Dozier is getting paid $10 million this year by the Royals to play for no one. He got cut from the Angels AAA team. Mm-hmm. That's how bad Hunter Dozier is right now.
The Angels couldn't even find a spot for him.
Right. So pay Chris Stratton to pitch for nobody or to pitch for somebody else next year. Just do it. Just do it, because you got to improve this team right now. And $5 million in this grand scheme of a Major League Baseball team is nothing.
That's true. That's very true. Those three pitchers that you mentioned, Smith, Stratton, and Zerpa, I'm looking at each of their individual last 5 outings, and all three have allowed at least 5 earned runs in their 5 outings each. Yeah. Smith and Zerpa, 7. Stratton, 5.
The thing and the reason I say Zerpa's half a problem is because you can just demote him. You don't have to cut him. He's got options left. So and I think he's got a future, bright future still, but it's not here right now. You can demote him. You can call up Jonathan Bolin. You can add Evan Sisk to the roster. You can add Dinelson LeMay, I believe is how you pronounce his name, to the roster.
So. Yeah, good job.
Who's been pitching very well down in Omaha. Steven Cruz you can call back up Carlos Hernandez, who looked really good over the weekend before he got demoted so that John Schreiber could come off the injured list. You have got some options, and you have got some guys who are not cutting it.
Correct.
And it seems like the only real misstep from the offseason for JJ Piccolo was the relievers he added. And we all thought that they were decent moves.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him necessarily, but all 3 of those guys, Nick Anderson,
Chris Stratton,
and Will Smith, they didn't work out. And keeping Will Smith and Chris Stratton on the roster doesn't make it work out anymore.
No, it doesn't.
I will say that we have called for moves at various points this year. Both of us have. And other people, we called for the cutting of Hunter Renfroe. We called for the demotion of MJ Melendez. They seem fine now, though I will say MJ Melendez usage got drastically adjusted, and he got turned into a platoon player.
He did.
Which, that if it works, great, cool. Glad you figured that out. Let's keep doing that. But that's where we are right now. This is the one thing that I feel like JJ Piccolo has kind of dropped the ball on this year. He's done very well otherwise. Free agent signings, trades, not giving up too much, not getting anything to help this team. Lucas Erceg looks huge. Like I said, he was one of my favorite targets, and I'm loving how smart I'm looking on that target. Even the trade I didn't like for Michael Lorenzen looks pretty good.
It does. It really does.
So you could also call up Alec Marsh and see what he can give you out of the bullpen.
So
there's just so many options, and they're not trying anything. And one of the things I did like that they would do the last few years, even last year, if I remember correctly, is they would have a couple guys in their bullpen that are like, we're going to use you. And if the bullpen is a little tired, you get demoted because you have options. We're going to call somebody else up.
Yeah.
And that's something they have not been able to do this year with all those veterans in the bullpen. And the veterans aren't contributing.
Correct.
So got to cut them.
Yeah, very true. So, hey, Jeremy, while I'm chatting, I'd like you to look up a stat for me. Are you ready? I would like for you to look up the bullpens, like the individual relievers F-WAR since July 1st, let's say.
All right, I can do that.
So while you're looking at that, you're talking about the moves that we've called for and the moves that they haven't made, right? And I'm looking at this bullpen right here, and there were 3 bullpen arms that did not start the season in Kansas City: Chris Bubich, Lucas Urseg, and Sam Long. Okay, that's a returning injury. Okay, that's a trade acquisition, and that is a surprise player promoted from Omaha. Outside of that, this is the opening day bullpen, for lack of better terms. And that is, on the flip side, for better or worse, that's kind of how the position players have been. If my memory serves and I'm looking at this correctly, the only position player on this team that was not here on opening day is Paul DeYoung. If I'm looking at this correctly.
That sounds right to me. I think that's right.
So it is, I'm trying to think. So there is such a thing as trusting the process, trusting the course, and sticking it out. I will say that's kind of how it seemed with Adam Frazier. I'm not an Adam Frazier fan by any stretch of the term, but he is looking better at the plate. He is looking a little bit more polished there. Now, will he go out and injure our center fielder? I don't know. That is always a possibility with Adam Frazier playing a corner outfield spot. It's high time to see some new faces replace these struggling players. Like there's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, what you got for those numbers? How are the bullpen arms looking in regards to FWAR?
As you might expect, there is one that stands head and shoulders above everybody else.
All right, let's hear it.
Lucas Urseg has a 0.7 FWAR.
Good Lord.
Since he joined the Royals.
Goodness.
1 innings pitched, 0.7 FWAR. That's insane.
He saved Sam Long's ass.
It's almost a whole win in less than a month of play.
Oh, my Lord.
As a reliever. Not as a starter, not as a position player, as a reliever.
That is absurd. But I bet it's a big drop-off.
That would be a pace for like 6 WAR out of the bullpen. What on earth?
It's a good pickup,
Chris
man.
Bubich and Carlos Hernandez are both positives. MacArthur, Long, actually surprising to me. Stratton, Smith, Harvey, and Zerpa are all negative WAR. But here's an interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole, the Royals bullpen, since the break, has a 0.1 FWAR. Which means that since the break, they've been approximately replacement level.
Oh, my God.
Which, again, not good, but also it's about a month of play, and it's about I didn't count Urseg when he was with the A's after the break, by the way, just with the Royals.
Of course.
It's not good to be replacement level, but it's also only a month's worth of play. So, and that, over a season that increases or decreases, it can increase or decrease. And it's not, again, as bad as it could be.
Right.
Just for a random example, there's the Red Sox, who have, since the All-Star break, have 3 guys with positive FWARs for a total of 0.7, and 1 guy who's worth that negative all by himself, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more guys who were negatives.
Goodness.
They have negative 1.2, 1.5, 1.8, 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, plus 7. So they have negative 1.7 FWAR over that span. So would you like to be the team with a 0.1 FWAR from your bullpen or a negative 1.7?
Rather be on the positive side.
Right.
We all know that.
So again, I'm not trying to argue any point that the Royals bullpen is good. I just would argue that they're mediocre.
Okay.
Mediocre trending towards bad,
Yes.
which is not what you want, but there are no perfect teams. I've said that enough. I'll let it go. I don't have to repeat it over and over again. Or maybe I do, but I'm going to try not to.
Yeah, let's not.
To kind of go back to this, Zerpa is the real big problem for the Royals out of the bullpen. The only one who's real Zerpa and Hunter Harvey. But I think Harvey's issues might be health related a lot.
Think so. Yeah.
And then you have Will Smith, Chris Stratton, Sam Long, James MacArthur, all negative 0.1. Now, MacArthur was really bad, and then he's been really good. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why he's kind of like really close to even there. Sam Long, I'm not sure what is happening with him. He does have a lot of walks, and I know FIP is a thing that counts for FWAR. I suspect his BWAR is much better.
Probably so.
And then Stratton and Smith were pitching in low leverage, doing fine. And whenever they have to pitch in high leverage, they're awful.
Yeah.
They accounted for 4 of the 9 runs last night. And the Royals lost by 4 runs.
That's true. That's very true.
So you take them out and you put in somebody who gets you some scoreless innings, and we go to extras. I like the Royals' chances in extra innings. Home team, extra innings, usually it's going to go their way.
Very true.
So that's what I'm saying. That when we talk about the bullpen, I think it's important just to kind of TLDR this maybe a little bit, because I've been talking a lot here and saying a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff. So let's just TLDR it a little bit here. The bullpen, overall, mediocre, not a disaster, just mediocre. And I get why it feels like a disaster when we're used to HDH when we were winning.
Correct.
Feels like a disaster. It's not, one thing we could do, and I'll try and pull this up next time I let you talk, is what did the bullpen look like last year over this span
for
the Royals?
Yeah.
As a comparison. But bullpen, point 1, bullpen overall mediocre, not awful, just not good. And then 2, the big problems are 3 guys, and you can demote one of them and cut the other 2, and you're not shooting your foot off here. Okay. Yes. Those are the 2 things I just want to make sure that everyone takes away from this.
Yeah. And this, you've spoken several times on the podcast about the sunk cost fallacy. Okay. Like this is Will Smith right now. He's a sunk cost. I wouldn't say I was singing his praises, but I was acknowledging that he was looking better statistically for the summer.
I think we were both reasonably, saying, let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
He looks good. We don't have a lot of options. Let's see what he can do. Didn't work.
Nope. And that's okay. That's baseball sometimes. One other thing that I feel like Royals fans can all say has not worked at this point is Garrett Hampson. He just had an absolutely atrocious Tuesday night.
Oh, it was bad.
Like,
starting with on the opening batter, dropping a routine fly ball for no reason. And I will push back against Rex a little bit. Rex was like, where's 2 hands? The way outfielders' gloves are designed these days, you don't 2 hands it.
Nope.
It's 1 hand.
Correct.
That's what you're supposed to do with an outfielder's glove. That's been true for 15 years basically probably since the end of Rex's career.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know. I get that that's what he learned, but that's not how you do it anymore.
No, that's true. But yeah, it was, and there was another play that he misjudged. I think I think I turned it off by then. The broadcast, I will say, was fairly kind to him, but from my eyes, he clearly overran a ball, not by a little bit, not like he just lost track of it, and it landed. It hit the wall in a funny area, and it didn't help the situation at all. I'm not saying it made it worse, but it didn't help in the slightest. And the whole reason why Garrett Hampson is in Kansas City, one of them is for his defensive versatility. Okay, I don't care about your versatility if you can't competently play defense in the first place. If I wanted the speedier version of Hunter Dozier in the outfield, I would have just asked for Hunter Dozier to drop about 20 pounds and go run some wind sprints. Okay. I'm tired of it. I'm done. He doesn't have a platoon advantage at all if I'm looking at this correctly. He's pretty much even across the board. He went 1 for 10 on the road trip. He's 1-4 against the Angels here at home. He only has 6 stolen bases. Like he's not getting even the pinch running opportunities that we expected from him.
And for someone who can't hit but is fast, he can't bunt either. How can you be a guy who you are and not bunt, Garrett Hampson? Mm-hmm. What is up with that? Because we saw him try and bunt again last night, and he watched a strike, bunted at a ball, and then hit into a double play.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Just abysmal plate appearance. Not the first abysmal plate appearance where he tried to bunt either. Thank you, Colorado Rockies.
I will. So, peek behind the curtain, folks. There's the Royals put out game notes ahead of every game. So it's a little PDF thing, lists out a whole bunch of stats. We don't always pull our stats from there. Fangraphs is our go-to. But usually, the team, when they're crafting these stats, will try to find the positive slant. That's okay. That's their communication. I completely understand it. But when their positive slant about Garrett Hampson is this, like, I don't know what else to say. Quote, in his last 61 games with an AB since April 28th, he's batting .248. Whoopty frickin' do.
With not much power. He hasn't hit a home run yet this year, has he?
No, he hasn't. And I
have a couple doubles, but
yeah, he's on the year. He's slashing .240, .280, .318, no home runs with 13 RBI and 6 stolen bases. The plate approach isn't there. The defense isn't there. Here, there is not a clear advantage where he slots in and makes his team better. And if I recall correctly, if you look him up on Fangraphs, he is a negative FWAR player across the entire season. Maybe his base running has helped. Maybe his defense has helped. Sure. But we are very, very close to September call-ups. And frankly, I don't think that Garrett Hampson should limit the Royals to 2 more additional players.
Yeah. Fangraphs does say that he has been a plus on defense and a plus in base running.
Okay.
He's been awful at offense. He has a 0.4 FWAR.
All right. I stand corrected.
I think that he's being buoyed by some of the hitting he was doing earlier this season. Because he's got a 64 WRC plus on the season, which is bad.
It is.
But it's not unplayably bad if you've got speed and defense. Over the last 20 games, he has a 10 WRC plus.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Which is unplayably bad.
Yeah. Like, that is terrible.
Four runs scored he's got 50 plate appearances, 9 hits, 4 runs scored, no RBIs, no stolen bases. He's got 2 doubles, no triples, no homers. It's
What are we doing? What are we doing with this?
You can get this from Nick Lofton.
Yeah.
Nick Lofton can do this. Nick Lofton can't play center. Well, guess what? Neither can Garrett Hampson. Darwin Blanco can.
Yes.
At least as well as Garrett Hampson.
Yeah. And his skill set is so commonsensibly, replaceable.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, cool. You don't have another center fielder? Fine. There's plenty of fans out there raving for John Rave, who's a center fielder. Okay, he's a right-handed bat. If that's the route they want to go. If that's not the route they want to go, fine. That's cool. Then you just slide over Darwin Blanco when Kyle Isbell is not in the lineup.
Waters can play center.
Yes.
He's waiting in AAA.
He is. And he's a switch hitter. So it is frustrating. I'm not saying he's getting like so many opportunities and he's going to be the person who weighs down the Royals postseason run. Okay, there's 36 games left to play as of this recording, and I don't think has that much of a opportunity to be that big of a negative. But when you see plays like the first batter, like that matters. Just dropping a fly ball. that matters, especially with the margin of error that this bullpen gives them. We were just talking about it. Imagine if that was Will Smith's final out of the 8th inning in a tied game. Will Smith did his job, but Garrett Hampson out there can't do it. So I'm done with it. Adam Frazier can live to be cut another week or something like that. He's doing all right, but we got to move on from Garrett Hampson, man. I'm tired of it. I'm sure. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. You have more to say about that because I've pulled up the bullpen stats from last year.
I will. This is the final note I want to preface all this with.
And Adam Frazier has a negative 0.5 FWAR, by the way.
Yeah,
because he's been bad not just at offense but also at defense.
Correct. He's been fairly bad all year. The final note that I wanted to say on guys like Hampson and Frazier and things like that, there are intangibles that we don't know about. I'm saying that begrudgingly because it's the truth and I can't deny it. Okay, there are guys and gals out there who speak on this team who know that. Okay, they know about the veteran presence that Adam Frazier brings. Maybe they know about the camaraderie that Hampson helps foster, things like that. And we don't know that. But I think that the team does have to look at wins and losses at the end of the day down the stretch. And are you going to help us win games or are you going to help us lose games?
Yeah.
That's what I think. What do you got on the bullpen, Jeremy?
So I looked up last year's bullpen over the same time span.
Okay. What is the time span again?
So July 19th through August 25th. They have a -1 WAR
wow.
as a bullpen unit. The positives were Nick Whitgren.
Oh, my God.
Taylor Clark, Zach Greinke, and Jackson Kowar.
Oh, my gosh.
And Greinke was pitching as a bulk reliever, not as the true reliever.
Correct.
Their negatives were Austin Cox, who's sitting in AAA, Taylor Hearn, who's not here anymore, Angel Zerpa, who
we're still here,
Dylan Coleman, who's gone, Jonathan Heasley, who's gone, and Carlos Hernandez, who looks like a different pitcher this last time up than he did last year and earlier this year. But yeah, -1 FWAR. This bullpen just is demonstrably, statistically better than last year's bullpen.
Correct.
That's the point.
And also just like think how different they are. Like I was writing up a story about like Royals players you forgot that played for the Royals in 2023, and it was guys like Franmil Reyes, and I remember one guy was Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Who we were so piss poor in 2023 that I remember his St. Louis Cardinals outing had us wondering, is this the solution? Is he the savior?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of roster. It was a very strange time to be a Royals fan because frankly, like a lot of people were doing that. It wasn't just onesie twosie. It was hoping that Mike Myers could bring something to this team. And there's been a lot of roster turnover to success. So
out of all those guys I just listed, the Royals have 2 of those guys left. The guys who were 0 FWAR, John McMillan, James MacArthur, Tucker Davidson, Alec Marsh, Max Castillo, Scott Barlow, Jose Cuas. So most of those guys are gone too.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, some of them have found success around the league. Good for them. But also a good chunk of those guys aren't with any team. Any affiliate. If I recall correctly, like Taylor Hearn went abroad. I know I'm pretty sure Nick Whitgren is done altogether. And Zach Greinke is watching games from the club, or not the clubhouse, the suite in Kauffman Stadium. Okay. He's not pushing to save this team at any point, I think. Just roster turnover overall has done a lot of good for this team. There are measures to do it in the season as well. It's not just the offseason and the trade deadline where you could swap out players, right?
Yeah. And to highlight that a little bit, maybe, I can point out that the Royals over this span last year used 17 different relievers. This year they've used 11. Now, they had 2 guys who were worse than anybody last year and nobody as good as their best this year. But
wow.
you could Carlos Hernandez and Jonathan Heasley were both worse than over that span than Angel Zerpa has been over that span this year. And of course, Lucas Erceg, the 0.7 FWAR, you're just not going to see that.
No, hell no.
Oh, the extremes were significantly worse last year than they are this year. So maybe it makes sense that you're like, well, we got to make some moves, but you can still make some moves and improve this roster. There's room in a bullpen for one or two guys who can't hack it as long relief options. But Will Smith and Chris Stratton aren't long relief options. Nope. They're one inning guys. They are not going to eat innings in a game that's a blowout for you.
Exactly.
And so if you're not going to have somebody who can eat innings, then they need to be somebody that you can ask to actually help you, because you're going to need somebody to fill in when your top guys can't pitch, as last night. I think Erceg clearly couldn't go last night, and it seems like Bubic and Long couldn't either, or else we would have seen them instead of the guys we saw.
We did see Long warming up.
Bringing in Will Smith in the 9th inning when they were down by 2 and had started a rally from the 7th inning, that's a signal that we don't have anybody better than this. We don't think any of our other better guys can go for whatever reason.
So I do want to correct something that I said earlier on.
What's that?
Erceg did pitch on the 18th against the Reds. He did not pitch on Monday or Tuesday against the Angels. But like he's gone long stretches without pitching, even with the Royals. Like before Cincinnati, he had gone 3 days since pitching. So like that's par for the course with him.
He's the fireman, I guess, right now, and maybe you could argue they should have used him in the 6th inning instead of MacArthur. But it does seem like, didn't want to use him last night, possibly because all of his outings have been multi-inning outings, and you're like, well, let's give him a couple days off instead of just one.
And that is a problem that, say, I get it, they're the best in the league, so they're going to have some luxuries. But the Cleveland Guardians, like, I don't think they have that issue. They can save Emmanuel Clase and still believe, hey, we're gonna get out of this jam thanks to this guy.
Yeah, a lot of people have talked about Q's bullpen usage this year. And yes, he's made choices that I wouldn't have made, disagreed with calls he's made, but no one has ever had a perfect season of calling in relievers.
Yeah.
Except for 2015 Ned Yost. And tell me, I've talked about 2015 Ned Yost bullpen before. There was something particular about it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That there were no bad relievers, so there were no bad calls to make.
Correct.
If you're like Chris Young, you're done in the 3rd inning, I got to go to my bullpen. Well, it doesn't matter who you call in the 4th inning. They're all going to be good, and they're all going to be good for the whole game.
So I think we've firmly established that there are ways this team can get better. And one of them is with internal options. Go ahead. That,
I think, is the frustrating part, the hugely frustrating part of all of this right now, is that everyone's like, the team is falling apart, it's going to lose. I haven't heard that as much. They do have a little bit of a bigger lead in the wild card, so good on you all for recognizing a little bit of the context. But they're like, everything is awful all of the time. It isn't.
It isn't.
But it also can be better. So I feel like I'm sitting in this middle ground between JJ Piccolo, who's like, we're just going to keep using these guys, and the fans were like, no one can pitch good. And it's like, the truth is in the middle of this. Can we all get to the middle of this, please?
Well, hey, that's one reason why we're here, Jeremy, is to try and get folks to a middle. Whether it be our middle, their middle, or JJ's middle, it is a middle at least. I don't know. I tried something there. It didn't work.
I'm feeling like when I think of someone getting to my middle, I'm thinking of Temple of Doom, reaching into the chest and pulling the heart out. Don't do that to me, please. I would not appreciate it. I am still using my heart. Thank you. It pumps my blood.
Yes. And I will say this, Jeremy, there is nothing that gets my blood pumping harder in baseball right now than the Trevor Bauer discussion.
Oh, what a transition.
Thank you.
This is a professional, everybody. This is how you know you're listening to a high-quality podcast. You've got Jacob making amazing transitions, and then you've got me spending 45 seconds telling you how amazing the transition is.
We just work together like that. And I'm going to be honest. I don't welcome this discourse. I love talking about baseball. This is the topic that I don't want to touch at all. And I
will happily talk about almost any player. You're like, could he help? Maybe.
I mean, like Lament is a perfect example. Lament.
I don't actually know how you say his name.
Either way, he's a perfect example of like, hey, he's available. He's a cast off from an organization. Why don't we give him a shot? And he has helped the Omaha Storm Chasers.
Dinelson Lamet.
Lamet. All right, thank you.
Dinelson, not Danelson. Dinelson
Lamet. All right, thank you. Lamet is a good example of this. However, I didn't understand what was fueling this, but it seemed like there were more Royals fans out there calling for Trevor Bauer. Oh, he's doing great in Mexico. He's served his suspension.
Cano. Should we sign Robinson Cano?
Yeah, he can still play second, right? Right? That's can he go play center field?
No, he cannot, Jacob.
No, he cannot at his age 40 season. But you know, he's the best batter in the league down there south of the border. So I don't know, maybe Major League,
famously equivalent to the major leagues.
Yes, very much so. The Mexican League has more in common with the movie Major League than the actual Major League Baseball. Okay, that's the truth of the matter, and it only sticks further when you have characters like Trevor Bauer down there leading the brand. And I will say this. Good on him for finding success down there. I'm never going to detract from someone.
You're on your own with that one, Jacob.
All right. That's fine. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that we should see him in a major league uniform again.
They don't care.
No.
They care about two things. Are you good? Are you a problem in our clubhouse? And let me tell you, Tommy Pham is a problem in your clubhouse, and he keeps finding place to play.
He does.
It's not usually the same place he was just playing, but he finds a place to play because he still brings something.
Yes.
If Trevor Bauer could bring something to a major league team, they would have him on their team. Somebody would have signed him. Somebody would have given him a minor league deal. All of this, of course, is assuming that Trevor Bauer would take a minor league deal and work his way back up, because people keep telling me that he would take the league minimum. He would do this. Are you sure? Hard time believing that no one offered him minor league deal, because you always wonder. I mean, Matt Harvey got how many minor league deals after he couldn't do it anymore? Brad Keller has proved for a couple of years now that he can't do it anymore. He's gotten minor league deals and promoted back to the big leagues. Trevor Bauer is a combination of somebody who teams do not believe in, and also somebody who is bad in a clubhouse. Set aside the legal stuff for a minute. We don't need to have that debate again.
No, we don't.
These are the two things we know about him, is that his teammates do not like him. They do not want to play with him. And major league teams will sign anyone they think can contribute for the right price. Either Trevor Bauer refuses to sign for the right price, or major league teams are convinced he cannot contribute.
And I'm trying to think.
And it's probably a combination of, we're really, really pretty sure he can't contribute, and we don't even want to mess with our clubhouse by signing this guy.
Exactly, because like that's been the thing that balances against Aroldis Chapman. I'm sorry. He has done some terrible things in his past, but not everyone could throw 105 on the inside zone to Manny Machado.
Marcell Ozuna still hasn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Marcell Ozuna has a job so good that he was featured in the Home Run Derby and got articles written about how amazing he's been since he did all kinds of shitty stuff. Excuse my language.
Gasp. So
I feel like it's justified in this case.
where where I was trying to get at is we all recognize where this team needs to get better. Number one, I don't think this rotation needs to get better. I understand that Michael Lorenzen is not the optimal guy in your rotation, but at the end of the day, he's your number 5 starter. Okay, I'm so glad that we don't have to go every 5 games wondering who the hell is going to start for the Royals this game.
You know, the Dodgers had a whole rotation on the injured list.
They did.
I believe I'm remembering that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They're familiar with Trevor Bauer.
They are. They gave him a lot of money.
Want him.
Nope. So what I'm all trying to get at is it doesn't help the fact that we have Kansas City sports personalities, I would say irresponsibly, advocating for Trevor Bauer's value, not just in Major League Baseball, but in Kansas City specifically. The place where fans watched him throw a temper tantrum like a child on the mound. A team that faced off against Trevor Bauer multiple times and heard nothing but bad things from the organizations that we face multiple times in a year. Stop it. Stop.
Again, Aroldis Chapman threw some kind of famous tantrums, did some kind of famous stuff that hurt his team or annoyed his teammates. He still finds jobs.
Yes.
There is no conspiracy. There is Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer either wants a real guaranteed major league contract, which no one in their right mind would give him.
Nope.
Even if you set aside personality stuff.
Yeah.
Or his personality is somehow worse than Aroldis Chapman's.
Would you be surprised? Would you be surprised?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I've read his tweets. The guy thought it would be a good idea to go after Joey Votto.
I don't understand that.
Do you know anyone who doesn't like Joey Votto?
No, actually, I don't.
Yeah, because Joey Votto is a gosh darn national treasure.
He is. He really
I think he's a Canadian national treasure.
Still
but he's a national treasure.
Still a treasure.
And Trevor Bauer thinks he's going to call him out. And he's going to get people on his side over it. When you're willing to go after Joey Votto and advertise that to the world, you've lost the script, buddy.
Yep. And I am sure that 20 years from now, we're going to be hearing about, how Trevor Bauer should have been a Hall of Fame pitcher, how he should have been this, that, and the other thing. At the end of the day, he has made his bed, and he has to lie in it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, talking about guys deserving Hall of Fame reminds me of good old Pete Rose.
Yeah.
And watching Pete Rose as a broadcaster, they brought him in for a postseason in 2014, 2015 as a studio guy.
Really? I don't remember.
If I remember correctly.
Like one of the analysts on the panel. Yeah, okay.
And it became abundantly obvious why MLB never really felt the need to work with him at all.
Yeah.
There's no conspiracy against Pete Rose.
No.
Some guys are just jackasses, and you don't want to help them.
And all this to say, Trevor Bauer is talented. He is. If he would just be a good person, how differently would we be talking about Trevor Bauer?
At this point, as you said, I think he's made his bed.
Yeah.
But, if he came out and apologized and, worked to make things right and become a better person. Didn't you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the call from Bob Fesco was basically put some clauses in his contract, which I don't think they can do. You have to be a good person and not tweet or something like that.
No, that was social media from Matt Vernon, who tagged a whole bunch of Royals creators.
Okay. Yeah. So, first of all, you can't put that stuff in a contract. Second of all, not in a Major League Baseball contract anyway. Pretty sure the union's too strong for that stuff. Second of all, why doesn't Bauer have to prove he's a good person first?
Why does he get the benefit
Why does
of the
a
doubt?
team have to give him a chance before he proves he's a good person?
And last note I want to say on this before we get to our reviews, we didn't touch on the legal aspect for one reason and one reason alone. The man still has outstanding legal cases. Okay. frankly, I don't care what side of those cases he is on, because he's on both sides of those cases. Don't forget that.
He has not been found innocent. First of all, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Found not guilty. That's the difference between call is confirmed and the call stands. Okay?
I like that. That's a good one.
It does not mean he didn't do anything. It means that they felt like they couldn't prove it, which is a completely different thing.
It is. So at the end of the day, this is a baseball podcast. So many other podcasts have touched on this topic, but it's starting to ring a little louder in the KC metro area for reasons, and it shouldn't be at the end of the day. All right, let's go ahead and end on a positive note, please, Jeremy. And let's go ahead and knock out our Royals reviews. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining us. But we've kind of mutated this segment since we started doing the podcast together, Jeremy. It really started out as just entertainment, TV, movies, video games, books, stuff like that. Now, I mean, I'm reviewing anything that I damn well feel like at the end of the day. So, yeah, Jeremy, do you have something out of left field for us today?
As I think we've kind of talked about in the past, I don't remember if we were on air or off air when we talked about it. It's really hard to keep up with video games and movies and music and books in the middle of a season where the Royals are demanding we watch every night.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, oh yeah, I watched the Royals play for 2.5 hours and also checked out this new movie and, did my job and my chores. There's no time. Nope. So in the off season, I'm sure we'll have some more normal-ish ones.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But today, yes, this is out of left field.
Okay, what you got?
Not sure it's super positive. It doesn't start positive. Somebody stole my credit card. I completely screwed that up. I was going to do this a completely different way. Anyway, somebody stole my credit card. So today I'm going to talk about Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay.
Who figured out, despite the fact that I've never used that credit card with them, connected something about my address or my name or something with me and said, oh, hey, this purchase that was just made, that belongs to your account. And they emailed me and said, hey, here's your receipt. I went, didn't buy that. So I called Dick's and they answered very quickly, wasn't on hold for long at all. And they said, hey, what's up? And I'm like, somebody just ordered something with my credit card and it wasn't me. And they're like, what's the order number? So I gave them the order number and they said, all right, it's canceled. And you should call your bank though. Yeah. And I went and looked, and sure enough, there were a couple other fraudulent charges on my credit card. So I called my bank and got that canceled, and I will be receiving a new card 7 to 10 days, which is not as quickly as I would like it. So that's a negative review for you a little bit. But Dick's, way to go on the whole, like, sometimes it's scary how well technology is able to link us together or find us or whatever. But in this case, like, good job. You found me and let me know that my credit card had got stolen, because I don't know how long it would have taken me to figure out that my credit card had been stolen and people were buying stuff with it. Apparently, they really needed a high performance backpack from Dick's Sporting Goods. They didn't put a name on the address they were shipping it to, somewhere in Massachusetts, Maine. MA, that's Maine. Yeah. So somewhere in Maine, somebody needed a high-performance backpack, and they're an anonymous person, and they decided they were going to use my card for it. So I'm sorry, you're not going to get your high-performance backpack, but I am going to get my money back. And so it's thanks to Dick's. Good job, Dick's.
Hell yeah. All right, I like it. Today's review is, it's another thing out of left field, but it's more of a moment to brag. So if you don't know, I've mentioned it only a handful of times on the podcast. My wife, Honey, she runs a fiber arts small business out here in Hampton, Virginia. These past couple of years been the first time like we've done the weekend markets and things like that. Well, last month she got a wholesale order for the very first time, and that might not sound like a whole lot, but it was her by far her largest order in the 4 digits, and that's a lot for one person to put together, and I'm very proud.
We try to get four digits of people to listen to our podcast for free.
Yeah, exactly. She shipped it out today. So that's why I'm bringing it up. It was this big old box full of crocheted items, and I'm just very proud of her for putting that out and putting all the work in.
She crocheted 4 digits worth of things.
Yes.
In what amount of time?
In probably about 3 weeks.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yep. She's pretty damn good, and she has more to do.
Is your wife a factory?
Is my wife
Is she
a factory?
Chinese sweatshop?
Okay, I gotta say this. Sometimes she will set up shop in the bedroom. She wants to crochet from the bed. It's more comfortable if she could spread out, things like that.
Uh-huh.
She came out the other day, did something, and said, okay, I'm going to go back to the sweatshop. Right? Like that. So that's what we started calling the bedroom when she's working in there. And now she's trying to blame me for it. But of course, it was her idea. She called it. She called herself a sweatshop worker.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she just is the sweatshop.
Yeah,
You married a Chinese sweatshop. What on earth, Jacob? What would possess you to marry an entire sweatshop?
Well, she's pretty damn cute. I'll tell you that much, Jeremy.
Well, fair enough.
But all that to also say, make sure you support your small businesses, because at the end of the day, corporate America, they don't care as much about your dollar as much as these individual artists and creators and small businesses. If you can shop small, please do so. All right, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get on out of here. If we talked a lot of nonsense today, we talked a lot of numbers, a lot of things around the Royals and the Royals themselves. If you want more information or more insight, you can follow along with us on social media at Royal Rundown Pod on Twitter and TikTok, or you can also follow along with Jeremy and myself. Those links are down in the podcast description below. Jeremy, do you have anything to add before we get on out of here? Anything that I missed? Any gripes, complaints, or rude noises?
I just want to point out again, the Red Sox bullpen ERA since the break, 6.69. The next worst is 5.77, almost a full run better.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
And the Royals are so much closer to the middle than they are to the edge.
Yes.
That's all I want to. I just want you all to realize that.
All right. I like it. All right. We're going to go ahead and get on out of here, get on with our Wednesday evening, and go load up the Royals game here in a couple hours. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're still listening, we're here twice a week, and we love hearing from you. So you can always reach out. So many means are down in the podcast description below, or you can just comment on the Royals review article that has this podcast linked to it. So my name is Jacob Milham. He is Jeremy Greco. He is always Jeremy Greco. I am usually Jacob Milham. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And until next time, go Royals.